All right, welcome back, everybody. It is week 2 of the pay-per-views, and we are here to break everything down. Welcome into the Ultimate Schmoedown Show pay-per-view pregame. It's me, Colin, going to be your host this week, and joining me, it's just one of the others. It's Boggs. How's it going, dude?
We're back, baby. We're back. Another big pay-per-view week. Can't wait to get into things. Just an hour away. So we'll give you the best pre-hype, best pre-talk, and everything you need to know going into these big matches.
Maybe I think one thing we'll work on for the next one is we'll have a ticker. We'll have a clock somewhere on the stream.
Yeah,
and maybe it'll be ticking down to game time. We get a little hype for it. It'll be awesome.
T-minus 10 minutes. Yeah.
10 minutes. It's almost there. We're almost there. We got 2 crazy matches today. I'm so excited. We got pound for pound teams match here. We got the Pride versus Final Exam. I am so excited. Like, I've just gone through and rewatched everybody's most recent matches leading up to this, because it's been a while since we've seen some of these competitors. We've seen Goddard in the IG tournament, but it's been a while since we've seen Rachel. We just saw Paul and Lon last week. So, it's good to get back there and refresh it with Rachel and Ben. And I'm excited because these two bring an energy that's been, it's unique. We haven't seen it in a while. It was, it's new, they haven't had a lot of time to really cement their stance in the league. So, Boggs, you're looking at this match. You're looking at last week. How do you think the Pride compare up to what Paul and Lon gave us last week?
So I mean, the Pride haven't played in a while, not to forget. So obviously, the momentum is with Final Exam. Plus, everyone's kind of not just momentum playing wise, but momentum with the fans, as in recency kind of bias. Like, oh, these guys are the hot guys, the hot team. But obviously, we don't know kind of where the Pride is at the moment. Obviously, like you said, Ben obviously played a playing match a few weeks ago, but obviously Rachel haven't played in a while. So a lot of kind of things up in the air, but especially just generally not that much game tape on Ben as well. I mean, we'll see. So I think kind of more pressure is on Final Exam, maybe just being the kind of higher caliber players and kind of more experienced. But yeah, man, like tough match.
And it's looking like, and I'm with you there, the pressure. You talk about pressure. Pressure tends to fall on the successful ones. That the pressure seems to fall once you're the underdog. Once you have people doubting you, once you have people, dragging your name on, shows and stuff, it starts to get to you and starts to eat at you. Once you look at polls and stuff like that, and once you see that you're down, and it is, you could probably say, a bit of recency bias, but I'm really enjoying that Paul and Lon have created a chemistry. A unique chemistry, a chemistry that plays in game and out of game. So, in game, Paul is totally on board with Lon's new delinquent lifestyle. And you can tell out of game, he's done his best to wrangle him in, maybe make sure he eats once a day. We keep mentioning it's important that Lon is fed. Somebody make sure that he's fed out there. And speaking of this, this match, and we're talking about polls earlier, our poll even has Final Exam beating the Pride, 87% of the votes going to Final Exam. So again, a bit of recency bias if I was to,
maybe.
I think it has a lot to do with it because they looked great last week against some solid competitors.
Yep.
Like those, come on, like those great players they faced last week. And Boggs, how does the underdog, get over that, that final hurdle? Is it mental? Do you just play your game?
Yeah, maybe. You got to go through the motions. You got to go through kind of all different kinds of experiences. Obviously, Lon and Paul have done that separately in their kind of single careers. And kind of in their teams and their separate teams, respectively. But yeah, they've been through kind of wins, losses, that kind of thing, title matches, title runs, and all that. Obviously, the Pride of finding their feet a little bit more, so finding their styles. That's on and kind of off the desk, as in the promo stuff. kind of, or do we, because they kind of think they're heels, obviously. So do we try and rattle people? Do we, do we play the kind of the face kind of card? Do we, do we just rely on our knowledge? Do we become, they're trying to find, or I feel like Final Exam have found that kind of groove and found their kind of way and how to play and how to handle the game. And obviously, like I said, the Pride are kind of finding their way a little bit. So yeah, you're just gonna have to go through it. So obviously they're confident. So yeah, it's nice to see Rachel as well, kind of on after shows, and just on other people's streaming shows, saying how confident she is. They're kind of looking to go all the way, so that's good. But end of the day, you're gonna have to face, you're gonna have to step up. So let's see what they've got. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, they just got to go through it. So they haven't got the luxury of going on a 2-3-4 match run before tough opposition. But yeah, just go through it, man. Let's see, one game at a time. Let's see if you can handle the heat. If you're not, at the end of the day, you're going to win if you're good enough. Really, that's what it comes down to. So if you win, they go through. If not, then we're hearing that there's a tournament at the end of the year, maybe a teams tournament. Maybe they go into that with these experiences under the belt.
And it's looking like that tournament is going to be stacked. It is going to be, kind of like we got in the NBA bubble right now. We don't have the bad teams. We got 21 good teams in the Washington Wizards, and they're all down there playing. So the quality of games are obviously better. It's not like you're playing teams filled with, bad players. So if this team's turn is stacked, and if they can get in there, that's endless amount of experience. And if they could take out some big names in that tournament, that's huge for them. And tonight is the start of that. There's a big shot for these guys to come in here and really lay a sucker punch on Final Exam. I think we got a heavy chance of that. I think Ben is sick and tired of this. I think there's something to be said for Ben's motivation, and the guy is just, he had one of the best promos of the week. The guy lining up with the telescope behind the tree. And I sent this to our producer. I said, it might be the most well-shot promo in the history of the Schmoedown. It's just so in focus. It just looks so good. And I'm the nerd that looks at stuff like that. I just thought it was great. Yeah. And Rachel too, Rachel calling everybody out. They're in the mood.
I like it, to be honest.
I like it. And I like that energy. And then at the same time, I love the delinquent energy of Lon laying on the bed with the newspaper on his head, saying that, children, we used to also read things in the newspaper as well. Not everything is, digital. So it's interesting, it's great. I had a great time this week following the storylines. I thought that they're polar opposites in terms of what the energies these teams are bringing, but they're meshing perfectly together, and I'm super excited for it. And I'll probably wait till later in the show to make our picks. Okay. But then, probably hang out a little bit on that, and then we can save our picks later. Sure. But I'm looking for Rachel tonight to possibly have that moment where everybody goes, "Oh, here we go." Because I think it's been waiting to happen for a long time. And I think it's been delayed because of all this stuff. So it's time for her to come in here and make a name. And she can carry that by beating a former champ. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. You're going up against Lon Harris, one of the most intellectually savvy players, I think, in singles. I think if you gave me 10 dudes right now, 10 anybody's right now in the league, I'm probably picking Lon to win me a match if you gave me 10. Sure, yeah. And that combined with Paul, also on that list. So when you got 2 top 10 singles players on a team, and that's just, and it's strange the way that their age difference also meshes perfectly. You can tell that there's things that in a second round or a 5-pointer situation, the either would just know that the other would have trouble with answering, the other would probably have trouble answering that question. And it's just weird how well their Venn diagram kind of overlaps. So I also think that's the same for Rachel and Ben. Not so much the age thing, but the different, the different levels of, just the different categories that they're familiar with. Yeah. So, Boggs, where do you see, do you see this is going to, let me rephrase that. Do you think that the Pride's going to make their move in the first round, second round, or, will we see a little bit of a delay? You
got to be from the off. It's, Rachel and Ben, there's, people, over the last all season, I'd say, Rachel has been getting, whether fair or unfair, criticism in terms of, potentially being overrated, missing questions in the past. So let's see. I think personally it's unfair. She has spun strong rounds in the past and kind of nailed tough questions and stuff. So let's see. This is your time. This is your time. Step up. You're playing against two top players. You can't slip up, especially in the first round. Second round, I think you can potentially make up points. But in the first round, we know Oyama and Harris are going to go hard. So they could very easily get perfect rounds. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if you're getting 6 or 7 points against these guys, I mean, you might not be able to make that up. So yeah, they got to be on it from the start. And maybe they might, with the final exam guys, because they've got their kind of characters on lock. You might be kind of falling into their kind of game plan in terms of, let's they might be having maybe laughing a joke with Lon and maybe being a bit too relaxed. No, you can't be getting involved. Right. You got to be sharp. You got to be on it, because especially, like I said, first round, if you're down by a few, this could get ugly. So yeah, I mean, we've got some top players here. So yeah, in that respect, I think Rachel and Ben potentially have more pressure on in terms of you got to stay in the game. You got to go. You got to make him hit that 5-pointer. So obviously that's a long way to go, but really that's what it's going to. You got to push him.
And it's going to be interesting to see if there's a moment like like you're insinuating, if there's a moment in the match where things go a little to character side as opposed to the match side of things.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how Ben handles it. I think Ben is more of a wild card to, fall into maybe comfortability with Christian. The guy spends a lot of time on mic with Christian a lot.
He was a bit touchy last match, wasn't he? He was a bit touchy
a little bit. Well,
so
yeah.
It might play on him a little bit.
Right. And he's got to be ready for that. I think he can be. I'm not saying, flat out, I think the guy's going to, cave into it. Yeah. I think he's got a shot at proving people wrong. I think this is an opportunity that he's probably going to get some stuff thrown at him in this match. I mean, if it's a bagel boy, whatever you want to call it, I mean, he could get anything thrown at him, and the guy, he's got to be rubber, and that stuff's, bouncing right off him all night long. And that might be the key to this whole thing, because you could tell last week was Paul was relaxed. I don't know if watching the other, watching the rundown guys afterwards and all that, Paul came on there and he was just cool as a cucumber, man. Cool. And easy sailing all week too. Same thing all week. And it just seemed like I don't know if they're quite ready for the force of nature that's coming at them. Like, I think the Pride kind of have a lot of pride in themselves, justly so. Like, I mean, it is not unwarranted. These are talented Schmoedown players, and for them to be underestimated would be foolish. I think extremely foolish. I'm looking at final exam, and they seem beatable in certain areas at times, but then they seem to immediately, get rid of all those fears and worries in your brain. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, if you're shooting 6 and 7 in the first round individually, that ain't cutting it, Chief. That ain't it. So we're going to have to see. We might have to see a perfect round from Ben or from one of them, regardless of who it is. We might have to see a perfect round just to keep that edge and just to keep that fear that we can hang. There has to be a feeling laid out at some point in the first round that we can hang, whether it's one of those questions where they both get it right and either Lon or Paul miss it. And it's that bit of like, all right, let's go. We are in this together kind of moment. I see something like that happening. And it's something easy as that. That's the turning point in some of these matches. You can just tell sometimes in these digital matches. I mean, people just quick to, we've kind of seen it. You can kind of see defeat easier.
You can't hide.
You can't hide. You cannot hide. There's not an editor. Like, you are on screen the entire time. There's no cutting back and forth to Christian and Mark. There's no single shots. There's no wide shots. There's just this. It's just this.
Exactly.
And so you can't hide. And it's tough because you're going to be looking at this. I'm excited to see Ben's second shot at this, because that's, I think, going to separate. Like, it's going to be the difference in this match. Can Ben not have the same, falling into the same patterns as he did in the last match? It's going to be interesting.
That's where I think Kate will come into it. Kate's there to, she obviously has her own character, and that can potentially help maybe settle these guys, especially Ben, potentially being temperamental a little bit. Maybe they might target him to get potentially rattled, throw him off his game, that kind of thing. Because, that's an element that elite players use in this game. It's a tactical advantage where, you can use your, try and rattle someone. It's a thing that,
Sam Levine, challenge. We watched it last week. We watched Sam Levine do it perfectly last week.
John tried to do it last week against Irwin. He purposely kind of pushed that challenge to try and rattle Irwin. Try and get him off his game a little bit. It's a perfectly kind of valid tactic to use, and I think they might use it against Ben, especially Lon, or Paul could be using it like his kind of dark humor, kind of sly shots that he's doing. But that's where I think Kate needs to help him out, kind of give him a pep talk in between rounds, maybe take a few shots at these guys, try and throw them off their game. Let's see how you guys handle it. Because Grace can do it as well. Grace can obviously, she's got, she's shown in the past, character wise, and good kind of management kind of attributes in the past. So definitely she can get involved and and keep the guys in check. Because Winston's going to be having fun, taking shots as well. So I think thinking about it, I think they might target Ben a little bit going into it. But you got to stay cool, you got to stay composed, man, because these guys are coming for you.
And it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm guessing what snack Kate is going to bring Ben, and I am feeling maybe like a little Werther's original, maybe like a hard caramel, just like, suck on during the match, a little candy.
He seems like an old soul, so I think you'll quite like that.
he does dress in the 50s garb. He loves to get into the 50s outfits. He plays it well. Rachel, I'm feeling like a crisp Fuji apple. A crisp apple, just it's perfect. And I'm feeling that there's going to be a lot of dancing coming from Swag tonight. And it's not just in this first match. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of dancing, because I watched everybody's most recent matches, and it just so happened that Chandru's last match live was Swag versus The Den against Brandon Hanna.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And seeing Kate and Grace just, full blown in their full glory. I missed that so much. That studio vibe, I missed it so much. It was so nice just to see it again. And Winston has done such a great job of bottling that energy that he brings to in-studio matches, and has really brought it to these home matches. Has really brought it. And it's been super impressive to see, because it's easy to get trapped in our boxes that we're in over here. We get trapped. And then, we get, secluded in these boxes. But he's done a great job of really coming through the screen and making you feel like he's coaching these guys. Same thing with Coy. We talk about Coy, how much we love Coy and the Mercs. And just that positivity that they bring really, really sheds through. And I don't know what it is, but it's more entertaining than seeing I know it's not their job to be, it is their job in a way, but it's not their job to be entertaining. But to watch like Gucci sit there in like the Di Milanta matches and just be like, hey, you know what we're going to do? All right. Everything's fine. We're going to do this. You're going to go first. All right. We're out of here. It's right. All right. Well, let's finish this. Let's go home. Let's finish this. It's the end. Write it out. And you're like, all right, cool. It's like the same thing every week. Yeah. It's like, really? It's like, really, LeBron? Did everybody play well tonight? Like it's like, oh, everybody got their boards, everybody covered, everybody, played defense, all this stuff. It's like,
I know what you
mean. With these guys, with Swag, with the Den, it's exciting. I'm so excited to see what they bring tonight, especially after rewatching Chandru's last opening. When he comes out, I realized it took me a while to figure out what he was wearing, and it's the Fortnite onesie, I guess he wears. I couldn't figure out what the onesie was.
Okay.
Until, I guess it's a Fortnite skin, and it's kind of. Then I realized, he's doing the dances. So I was like, oh, well, maybe we'll bring that energy. I'm expecting full on dances tonight. Like we're dirty dancing, Swag's coming out, drip, drip, everybody. And I think that's the energy that Winston is going to bring into this first match as well. Because Paul I feel like Paul feels that wave as well. Paul gets a lot from Winston that I don't think Lon needs. Lon just kind of, in it, character aside, I don't think Lon needs the coaching up on the movie knowledge side of things. I think Lon can show up and play. He's like the guy who doesn't need to practice, and he shows up. He's like, I'm good. Paul is quarterback who, it's good to get practice reps, and quarterbacks need to be they need to be they need to be hyped up. They need to be talked to. They need to be
coached.
Yeah, they need to be coached up, and they need to have a good relationship with that manager or coach or whoever it is. And Paul's got that. He's got who I think may be the best manager in terms of managing in-game manager. Winston might be, top 2 right now in the game. And that's a scary combination with a player like Paul, because for them to be able to come in any situation and talk it out, I trust Paul and Lon in those situations to be as prepared and to make the same judgment that they'd make if they needed to bring Winston in. So even when they bring Winston in, they're already at a different level of the conversation. They've already figured out, is this the right move? And I just feel like that's experience that's going to be tough. So we're talking about what's it going to take. I think it's going to take that moment when a team finds themselves, and it call comes at the right time and at the right, in match. And I think we could see that today with the Pride. I think we got a real shot at that. So I think we're in for a doozy. We might go to overtime today. I think we're in for an overtime team match. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on the, on the digital side. Boggs, I think it's time. I think it's time to make that pick.
Let's do it.
What do you got?
So I'm saying, on the back of what you just said as well, in terms of the Winston, having that experience in Star Wars, in a Geekdom a little bit, but mainly in Star Wars, managing match after match, different kind of scenarios, knowing what to say, having all them experiences, that can definitely help and contribute. Like they've got their flow. Swag guys, they know kind of, the routine, they know what to say, they know Winston's coming with that energy, coming with that positivity. So they've kind of got their way of how to approach the match. The Pride, they haven't been through that in terms of this digital kind of scenario and kind of way of doing things. Like they haven't been through these experiences. Yeah, obviously Kate's played a couple of matches as a manager, but yeah, she needs to kind of all three of them need to step up. Well, Kate and Grace, all three of them need to step up, because these guys are coming hard, especially kind of Winston and how well the Swag have been doing. So if you guys are gonna, if you want the Den to catch up with Swag, they need a big win here, and they all need to be on point. So to predict, I'm gonna go with a final exam like our Twitter poll has, mainly due to kind of just the flow of things and experiences this season. And I think Winston's just going to be having fun this match. The kind of amount that final exam kind of know. And I can just see them just missing maybe a handful of questions. And I think they just complement each other really well, Ayama and Lon. So as opposed to, I think there's just too many questions with the Den. Like how good are they? Because we just haven't seen enough of them in terms of individuals. Yeah, Rachel, we have. Ben, we haven't. So for me, there's too many questions. That obviously is, sometimes a couple of times this season we've seen players in the Den rely on their manager, and it hasn't necessarily come through. So if it wasn't for Ben running each of these tournaments, where would they be potentially? So whether that, there's just too many questions there for the Den. So I'm going to go with final exam. But yeah, like I was going to say I would be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if the Den would, but I'll tell a lie, I would be very surprised if the Den beat these guys today. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think, they've got to do a lot of right things. Well, they got to play extremely well, and final exam have got to play quite bad, I think, for these guys to win. So that's my final thoughts.
I think it's going to be interesting, and you bring up a good point. The inexperience in game, I think it shows that there's a difference in the way that Kate manages in game and the way that Winston manages in game. It's vastly different. Yeah. There is more responsibility on those players to make the right decision in terms of calling it. Grace is definitely the more experienced Schmoedown, entity as opposed to Kate. Sure. Kate coming directly from SEN, not coming from, starting in the Schmoedown originally. So there has always been this kind of character side of it that, the coach side of things has yet to be shown. So if Coach Kate can come out tonight, I think that would be a great sign, for them, that they could that they could stand a chance. I just think that it's a lot to ask for those guys to bring it all themselves. Like Ben shouldn't have to, be feeling like he's
carrying the whole Den, basically.
Yeah. Essentially. And it's kind of like, is he going to play or coach? Is he going to Bill Russell this thing? Because it's kind of getting to that point where he's it. And it's interesting to look at. I feel like it's the polar opposite on the other side. I feel like it's in terms of how the managers are handling the season. Winston is handling it completely differently from Kate. It's just, and Kate and Grace, it's just two completely different styles. And I think Winston's style is going to prove to be more successful. I think it's going to show, and I think players are going to gravitate to that. And I think players are going to gravitate to managers like that next season. And I think it's going to be big. I think Winston's going to be around this league for a long time. It's going to show that, like, preparing as a unit in game and out of game is preparing, all the time. They're playing matches, like they said, teams matches. They said last week, we've been doing this. Winston keeps saying to everybody, we've been playing these matches. They had the guys were on backstage this week, and they had Smets and Chandru on there. And they were just like, look, we're not worried about this 5-rounder. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've said this before. The chosen one has been our coach for every single one of these championship matches. So we've been through the 5-pointers. This is nothing new to us. So in terms of this digital era, it might as well be the same, in terms of like how they can replicate it. You can do a pretty good job of doing that now. And it is harder, obviously, to get that studio atmosphere. And there's nothing quite like being under the bright lights. There's nothing like it. And for it to be this level playing ground now, I think Swag is just going to have one hell of a night. I think this is going to be the night that if things go according to plan, Swag could be atop of the leaderboard for the first time this season. And that leads. So that's my pick, by the way. I'm going 30-26. So that's forcing them to the 5-pointer. 30-26. Final exam. Take it. On to the main event. Oh boy. Is there music? Can we add? We're going to add maybe, in post or something. It's here. Get the trumpets out. Get the long trumpets out with the capes coming down and all that stuff. Here it is. Smets is back, folks. The Smasher has finally returned to the, I was going to say the Octagon, but he has returned to the Schmoedown. He has returned to the arena. Yeah. And waiting for him might be his most intimidating foe yet. The chosen one stands before him in the arena, waiting like Thor, I believe, to take on the Hulk in Ragnarok. And I think there's a little bit of metaphor there that folks aren't quite ready for tonight, because there is going to be some serious punches thrown tonight, Boggs. We're just base thoughts. You've been watching everything this week. You've been following it on Twitter. Everything's been going crazy. All the after shows, all the rundown backstage. It's just been Smets, Chandru, everything all week. Where you at?
Yeah, so like you said, the slugger's coming, but Chandru's dancing. He's on his toes. He's dancing. He's slipping and sliding. So yeah. Plus you got obviously Kaiser in the corner. You got Winston. So yeah, I've loved the back and forth because we've got two polar opposites. One that's kind of bit more, I'd say, bit more forceful, a little bit more passive aggressive in Smets, and we've got like a complete softer character who's always smiling, always laughing, even cheeky. Taking shots.
The word is cheeky.
Yeah. He doesn't even realize it half the time. He's just got like a polite way about him, but he wants to have digs, working on his character, but he's just constantly smiling throughout it. So yeah, he hasn't got them skills maybe, but it works out where people just get offended. So I find it so funny. But yeah, I love the kind of the back and forth that was happening, and it was nice to see for me that Winston had his back as well, because I've seen a lot of kind of competitors take shots at him for his personality, and I've never really seen it in terms of shots at Chandru. I've never really seen this. Well, maybe it happens off screen, off camera, behind the scenes, but I've never really seen this kind of malicious person, or someone, people kind of criticizing his character, that kind of thing. But I've never seen that. I've just seen him kind of be always smiling, having fun, be respectful. But so it was nice to see Winston say, this guy's got a heart of gold, you guys are being too harsh with him, kind of thing. So yeah, it was nice to see someone standing up for him for a change, because normally everyone's just kind of taking shots on him. He doesn't get invited much on other after shows, that kind of thing. So because we don't really know him personality wise, he hasn't got that support, I don't feel. So yeah, for me, it was nice change of kind of pace with things with that. So it's not just kind of Smets the whole way, which obviously is a big fan favorite. He's a champion in the game, so he's got that fan base. But it was nice for me to have to hear Chandru, kind of take his shots. Hear Winston support him and also take his shots as well. So yeah, so it was. I love the smack talk.
Dude, the drama, it didn't stop there. Our guy Brad Gilmore over there, on backstage with the wonderful Jen.
Yeah.
Just chilling. And all of a sudden we get the Smasher hulks out in the middle of the broadcast and says that Brad's been out here dragging his name through the muck and whatnot.
Made him apologize.
Yeah, made him apologize. It was like Reggie, the episode of South Park where Randy has to.
Oh, no, big South Park.
Oh, okay. It's great. It's like, apologize. And he was like, you need to apologize, man. He was like, oh, sorry. He even went to Twitter. I saw that, yeah. Christian retweeted it. It's like he retweeted the apology. And then Christian, like the greatest, like synergy man of all time, is out here like, oh, and here's the VOD. But retweets the VOD like right above the retweet, like in case you want to know what happened. Here we go. And then that causes me to, oh my God. And I wasn't watching live, and then I went back and watched the VOD. I was like, what's going on here? Why would he what did he say?
Yeah.
Was it like, oh no? But then all of a sudden I look over and I see the chosen one in all his glory, just eating it up. So I feel like he feels like maybe Smets has been letting folks in his head. And that's it's a bit of something to play into, because I don't think there's anything that hasn't been thrown at Chandru before that could, that somebody could throw at him that he would be rattled by at this point. I think he's, there's nothing that Smets could say to him that in the middle of this match. Now, there is a way that Chandru takes over a conversation and can somehow get these jabs that are like these kidney shots that you don't feel for
I
like
thought it was
3 minutes.
getting to him a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he didn't seem like, I thought he was a little bit, especially Winston chiming in as well. I thought, he got to, because I've got an issue with that. I've got an issue. So I've probably heard 20 times this week that whenever this match is getting discussed, that we're kind of, oh, this is the return of the most, what's the phrase that they use? The most dominant champion the Schmoedown's ever seen. Really? The most dominant champion. 1 title win he's got. Okay, and I love the guy, right? Absolute kind of, great rivalry with Kalinowski and Chandru and everything. He's got 1 title win. For me, that's not dominant, okay? Dominant is the Patriots. Dominant is someone who has title wins. Yes, I understand he's got a lot of knockouts, but as Winston had tried to address, okay, you've got a win against Kalinowski. You've got a win against Chandru. The rest of them, yeah, you should have beaten them, kind of thing. So that's when obviously Smets was saying, oh, what's the point in us promoting this thing? I was like, oh, what are you doing? He's just, everyone's calling you the most dominant champion. He's just not agreeing with you. That's all. You don't have to, spit your dummy out.
Right.
But no, I've heard that so many times this week, and I've not seen that. How is he so dominant? He's got 1 title win. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Colin?
Oh no, I'm with you there. I'm with you on the. This is a what have you done for me lately league, much like the NFL. It's kind of, we're real quick to remember the ones who put on spectacular performances, and we remember the winners. He's got a bit of Patrick Mahomes to him right now, right? He's got a title. He's a fantastic player. There's no one doubting his skill at all. That's what we're trying to say here. I think that's what Brad is trying to, if there was anything that was misunderstood, it's the clout that has been built. It's the people who go on morning shows and say that Patrick Mahomes has already written his ticket to the Hall of Fame. Like, are you kidding me? That, like, if you're a sports writer for 20 plus years and you say that after a guy's been in the league for 4 years, you need to turn in your card and find another job, because that's just immature. If the guy's got a 20-year career, it could go any which way. Of course, you want the trajectory of anyone's career to go up and have nothing but success, but that is usually not what happens. So what we are saying is 1 title and how many defenses?
None yet.
None. So that's what we're saying. Like, no one's saying, like, if that's all the argument is trying to say.
Exactly.
That's great.
You'll be remembered throughout the history of this game. Inagita champion, 100%. But you've had 1 win. Okay, when you've had, I don't know, X amount of wins, whatever, 3, 5, then you're a dominant champion. Okay, right now. Plus, this is the start, I think, of a new era of Inagita. We've got obviously the 2 guys playing today. We've got Chandru, we've got Smets, we've got just behind them Chance, Kalinowski. We've got the newer guys, Parker, the Barbarian. We've got Morrow who's going to come. We've got Mara Kanopik who's going to come. This is a complete new era. So for me, they're all going to beat each other in this, in the kind of next season, basically, because not really going to be any more Inagita matches. So next year, they're all going to, like, for me, this is the strongest it's ever been. So for me, like, I can't see anyone having too many defenses of the Inagita title, because, like I said, the division is so strong at the minute. So if he kind of goes a few wins from that kind of group of people, then absolutely one of the most dominant champions. But right now, calm down, guys. I've heard that, I'm telling you, 20 times this week, and I'm like, I roll my eyes every time. Like, come on, let him do it first, and then then you can get called legitimately one of the most dominant champions.
How quick were people to, like, and we just sat here and blew smoke up his ass for 20 minutes. Like, how great is Paulo Yama? A champion. Yeah. Like, in that moment, in that microcosm of that moment, people were saying the exact same things about Paulo Yama that they're saying right now about Smets. And this is the match before he plays, Roca. And that's what it is. We know what happens. So it's Smets is never afraid of the moment. The moment's never too big. Just got to play the game. And we know Smets is going to play the game. The guy's got everything. He's got his what does Chandru say? He's got his MP3 files. He's got
spreadsheets or something.
Spreadsheets. all that good stuff, which is great. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that is your home, if that's where your comfort level is at, ride it out, like, and fall into it. I saw it on Backstage. Do not let Chandra get in your head like that. Like, because he said it twice on that broadcast, and you could tell, man, he was like, "What'd you say about my MP3 files?"
That's why, you know, if you're not watching these after shows,
boy,
you're
missing it.
So, as you know, I say it every week, but as a fight fan, as a boxing fan, you know, for me, you have to watch these press conferences. You have to watch these kind of weigh-ins, things like that, the interviews, because you get insight into people's mindset, you know, to see where they get rattled, see what things, you know, people just, you know, that kind of behaviors, human psychology, that kind of thing. So, and it's the same thing in the Schmoedown. You know, you see literally people live getting rattled. You know, if they go into a match with that, and you know, you've seen their kind of potential weaknesses, potentially, you know, you can kind of play into that on, you know, in a match where, you know, you might not be able to get a question, you know, might throw you off your game, you know, who knows? So this is, it just makes it more interesting and more intense for me.
This match has so much to offer. We could honestly, like, this could go a long time tonight. Both of these matches could go for a while. I see it. Because I don't see how either of these two competitors slip up in the first two. I don't see the first two rounds. I'm gonna make a prediction. The first two rounds, we will be tied at 21-21.
Okay.
I mean, that right.
Easily. It could easily happen.
Easy. 21-21.
It would not surprise me at all.
And it's gonna come down. It's gonna come down to the betting round, because that speed round. That speed round.
We'll be talking about it so much after.
We've been talking about it every single time, but that speed round right now, it's so up in the air, and it could. So we saw it last week. We saw it with Mike, and we saw it with Chance. We saw how quickly that flipped momentum. Now, Chance, of course, we know was able to seize that momentum back at the end, but he lost it in that speed round, and Mike was able to grab it back to, you know, without Chance even being in the room. So that's kind of, you know, the disadvantage you get. It's that moment we're going to see, and it's going to be interesting to go back and watch all these championship matches that take place. And if this is the new format, how do competitors handle the moment of finding out the score? I think that is a new turning point in every single match, because I think when we're getting to these championship matches now, it's going to be close. There's no more like big I mean, there may be a couple in singles, but I think when we get into IG, when we get into Star Wars, these championship matches, it's a 1-point game. So betting round and the speed round, it's going to come big into, don't answer the question if you don't know it.
Yeah. Exactly. Like what Mike done.
Yeah.
He passed, right? He didn't guess any answers, or he wasn't unsure. He didn't get any wrong.
Correct.
He just passed. I think he got 8 right, and he passed on 2. Like, that is the right way to do it. Like, that
might have been a trick that he held on that he didn't tell Chance.
Yeah,
that might have been one of those things that he held in Batman held in the utility belt that Nightwing ended up in Bloodhaven. He was like, "Oh, I wish I knew that. That would have been nice." But you see that with them, and it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I think we're going to have a lot of right answers tonight. We might have. I'm thinking 3.5 Boggs. We'll play a little gambling game. 3.5 over under wrong answers total in the championship match.
I don't know, man. I don't know, honestly.
I gotta go under. I gotta think that it's literally gonna be one. You know, it's gotta be one. You know, it's gotta be one of them. It's gotta. Like.
Really, like, probably not missing 3 questions or match. Yeah, that's how high caliber. But you know what? Okay, let me say something. So, do you remember when, I think it was maybe the Smets match, where, do you remember the question that Chandru missed? I think it was a 5-pointer. Was who played the Phantom, right?
You're right.
Yeah, and I knew that he wasn't going to know that. And I'll tell you why. Is because the guy is obviously not from the States. He's obviously from India, right? And I thought, okay, so I checked, right? And because I know that movie was a flop in the UK. It's a flop in the States. And it was an Australian finance movie. And I checked, right? And that movie was never released in India. Okay. So yeah, I understand that competitors get a list of movies that will be in Inner Geekdom, wherever it's a 200, 300 list or whatever. And at the end of the day, that was an IMDb check, okay, which he hasn't done, obviously. But at the same time, in the country of origin that he's from, that movie was never released. And I just thought, like, yeah, I knew he wasn't going to know it, because I knew he's never heard of that movie before. He's never seen it. And I thought, oh, is that international competitor? Like, I would have double checked that personally. I mean, that's no shot at the writers or whatever, give them feedback. Like, that's not for an international, you know, if you're going to ask a 5-pointer on a quite a kind of low budget flop, like, check if it was released in the country and origin where the person's from. So, you know, if anything like that comes up again, for Chandru, you know, he could potentially be in trouble. Like, from a kind of more bespoke kind of lower budgeted movie, like, that's not released in the country where it's from. You know, I know that's quite a kind of specific scenario, but it kind of rang bells in my head when, as soon as because if I remember, that was the reaction where he's like pulling his hair out, and yeah, it was like I felt really bad for him. He was like he was gonna cry on camera, kind of thing. So I did think that at the time. I thought, oh, you know, because he's I don't know how long obviously he's been in the States for, but because he hasn't got that in depth. He hasn't been in, you know, potentially in the country for, you know, for all his life. He's not going to know, you know, the kind of smaller movies. So that's something to take into consideration with Chandru. But maybe that's just me from a certain perspective. But
let's see. We got a question here from the chat from Andy, who says, "Who has the advantage in the new digital format?" So interesting. I think probably leaning. Thanks for the question. Thanks for hanging out, Andy. I think you got to lean Smets. I think it's just the overall experience coming up in the fan leagues. It's not, I think he feels, you know, safe playing at home. It's not new to him. Nothing new when it comes to the fan leagues. And he's had the pressure of the big lights. So if anything, he's had the difference. He's done everything from playing on this big stage at a live event to playing in studio to now playing at home. So I think that for me puts advantage Smets. Boggs, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think so. But I've seen Chandru's setup as well. I'm not that impressed with it. Like, the sound, I've seen him on interviews, like on backstage and stuff. Like, he's got really bad sound quality, and he's just got I don't know. Like, he seems like to miss. I've seen him miss questions, like when he's getting interviewed and stuff. So I don't know if that's to take into consideration, or he's going to have a better setup or not. But yeah, I just think Smets is obviously being on more kind of interviews, more after shows, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I would think Smets, but yeah, who knows? To be honest with you, who knows?
And Andy also posing another great question. This is actually fantastic. Can't believe I haven't thought of this. What would you guys think of the new speed round going before the betting round? I think that is a great question to throw at the commissioner. I think it would it kind of sets you up. It kind of puts more emphasis. It feels more like Final Jeopardy, right? You know, when you get to that last part, the betting in the middle, you know, it'd be interesting with more points, you know, kind of if they were able to increase the point values to play with, you know, to some extent as well. Box, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, you know, because the bigger swing happens in the speed round. Like, you have more points to play with. So, for example, if you're 5 points behind, like, you're not, you know, betting 3 points, you could get knocked out then. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a bigger kind of gap then, or whatever. You got to bet, you know, you got to be 10 points behind, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's not a bad idea, but I do like it the way it is now. So, but I have thought that in the past. I've definitely thought that, and I wonder if this was later on in the match. But yeah, good idea. But I prefer it as it is, just for the, especially for this online format where you have, you know, potentially 10 questions you can get in round 4. So yeah, I don't think 3 points, betting 3 points before going into a round where you're going to answer 10 questions, that doesn't have too much of an impact. It maybe in a live match where, you know, you only kind of get to answer 3, 4, 5 questions. That could have more of an impact. I mean, now there's 10 questions in round 4. So yeah, I don't think it will make too much difference now anyway.
And Andy also thinking that Chandru has the advantage because he's going to have a couple less people around. Yeah, I mean, distractions are everywhere. We got to be wary of that. So it's going to be interesting to see, can these guys shut out the noise tonight? Because there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on. These headphones are going to be filled with a lot of sounds. I can only imagine what it's like sitting in. Like, if you just have regular, you know, headphones on, and you got Christian's voice coming through, you got Mark's voice coming through, you got Winston, you're going to have
people going at it, you know, like, kind of focus.
Right, exactly. It's, you know, you can only imagine. And it's going to be interesting to see how everybody handles it. You know, I think this is huge for. I think it's a huge moment for the Chosen One to see if he can wield Mjolnir one time and whack the Hulk with a nice uppercut and send him flying, because I think that's what it's going to take. And it might be, I think the speed round goes to Smets. I think there's just something about this new speed round that I feel like plays to his strengths. And I think this is going to go to overtime. I'm really dead set on this match going to overtime. Like I just had this feeling it's going to be 21-21 again. I'll say it again at the end of the second. It's going to be 21-21, and then end of round 4. If it's a 1-point game, we're lucky. Like, we're lucky if it's a 1-point game, because it's going to be tied. I got a solid feeling that there might not be any miscussions, or even the betting round. These guys might just
all 5 rounds going perfect. Like,
could you imagine? I think that's the level that these two are bringing it.
Like, it's realistic option.
It is. I mean,
like
I love it in terms of, like, you know, also looking back at the Star Wars matches. That was the level of intensity that was brought into each one of those matches. Once it got to the semifinals, it was it was full thrust to hyperspace, punch and Chewie. We were out of here. And this time we're gonna see two of the top. These guys might end up on the Mount Rushmore of IG once all things are said and done. You know, we're talking years from now, because they got years and years to compete in this league. And because right now it's sitting there with Rachel and Mara, and I mean, you got to throw Kalinowski on there easy, and then, you know,
maybe Inman
or Hector. I'd have to see them have a play-in match for my Mount Rushmore. I'd love to. Oh man, I miss those guys. I miss seeing Inman come in there. Inman coming in the Star Trek garb almost made me want to actually watch all the Star Trek movies. And we had to get CBS All Access today to watch the Champions League. And then I looked like, oh, all of Star Trek is on here. I might actually have to commit and do it, because they did just drop that cartoon that looked.
The Lower Decks.
The Lower Decks. I've always thought that's a great idea. That concept of, like, the everyman in the big world of, you know, whatever the big universe, that concept to me has always played well. Like,
to be fair, I actually like about the whole Team Trek thing with it.
I love that.
That definitely made me watch some of the older Star Trek stuff, because, you know, the music, because he used to play the 2009 Star Trek theme.
That's my
they come out with phasers, and I just think, oh man, like, that's so cool. I want to hear that music again. So I used to kind of rewatch some of the older stuff. So if you need any recommendations, let me know. But,
dude, we're 7 minutes away from tip off. We're gonna say tip off, you know, from it starting. I'm getting antsy. So, you know,
let's not mess about. Okay, who are you going for?
No. I enjoyed the little distraction. I enjoyed it. It was nice to take a little break for a second.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy, Colin. I know our producers are going for Smets, but come on, don't be shy.
Look, y'all. I think we're in for a little show. And I think the Chosen One is going to come in here and lay the final shot. There's going to be a lot of punches thrown, but there's got to be a final shot. And I think it's going to be laid out by the Chosen One. In overtime. I'm not going to project how many points into overtime. That's for other people's jobs. I gave you the 21-21, and you can come find me here tomorrow when we discuss the match on our review, because that'll go up tomorrow on the Outlaw Nation channel and the YouTube channel. So let's, Boggs, give it to me.
Well, it's going to get down to the wire. Overtime's not a bad. To be honest, it's a realistic scenario, very realistic. But for some reason, I've just got a feeling about round 4 and Chandru, because you know, Ace kind of quoted Chandru as going through it with him and just going through the format. I just have a feeling he's been running through it really well, and he's just been ultra prepared for it. Obviously, we know kind of Smets is, you know, kind of the kind of top tier in terms of preparation and studying and stuff. But I just got a feeling about Chandru, man. Just, you know, his back's against the wall, the underdog. It just seems like the little guy, and I could just have a good feeling. I don't know. It's this as well, like the constant kind of pro talk about Smets as well. It's got my back up a little bit. just from the kind of overall fans
It was
perspective. Yeah,
it
just
was a lot.
constant this the
That
kind of
gets to
most
you.
dominant champion. It's like, oh my god, how many times am I going to hear that? So yeah, it's just kind of led me towards back in Chandru. So obviously I'm not surprised either way. You know, these two top players, we're gonna get loads of drama, probably infighting, you know, arguments, challenges, all this stuff. But I am gonna back Chandru to pull it off. Don't know how, don't know when, but I'm going Chandru for the win.
Okay, so now throw back to the undercard. Recap. Who you got there again?
Final exam.
Final exam. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I got final exam. I think
So I'm going
30-26.
2 swag wins. And that's another reason as well. If swag win both of their matches, should go top of the league, right?
Yep, they will go top of the table.
Of the league. How much more drama, excitement will that bring? You know, for the Finstock guys.
Bobby Gucci sighting tonight, if that happens.
Exactly. Everyone on their toes, you know. So yeah, that will light up the league. Just make it so much more interesting. So because if Smets win, he's out of action until
next season,
December, right? With Chance, obviously that's it. And you know, obviously the dungeon in the lower part of the league obviously will get them kind of off the bottom. But I just think there's so much more drama with swag, and so I'd personally love that going into the kind of the singles tournament and everything else, because in going into that singles tournament, if swag are on top, everything is on the line, you know, from playing matches for the first round matches,
every match matters.
Like every match, it's like drama and everything. That's what I want. I tune in for the drama, tune in for the tense stuff. So I'm going for a Chandru win. Definitely.
And our guy Andy in the chat says Smets wins by 1 in regulation. He'll get one more question right in the speed round. Well, folks, 3 minutes from the video going live. So thank you everybody for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out. It's been about an hour. We'll be back doing this again before every pay-per-view special. So tell your friends.
Let me just give a shout out to that, Andrew.
Yes.
We're going to do our review show. Please DM us on Twitter if you have any questions. We'll have to address any questions you have. You seem like you got a lot of questions. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, DM
during
us
the match
Twitter
as well. We'll be watching live. So throw them into us during the match. Tag us in questions on Twitter. You know, keep the conversation going. We're here to talk, and we're here to, you know, just talk Schmoedown. That's what we love. So thanks everybody for hanging out. It's been Boggs. It's been Colin. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's go, baby. Let's go. It's game time. We'll see you next time. This has been the Ultimate Schmoedown Show on a preview special. Later.
See you later.